Great. So welcome everyone to our session now in the right session of this hop-in system. My name is Tobias Wilken from AOT. And we, AOT, are a Switzerland-based startup. We are located in Basel. We are 10 years old, which you could say, oh, hey, well, that's not a startup anymore. This is maybe true from the time perspective, but actually we just brought our very first device, our very first product to the market at the beginning of this year. So it took us 10 years from basic research all the way to have a medical device of this complexity developed and certified, at least with the European notified body. We are 50 people here. Most of them are software engineers, a few laser engineers. So those are the two core competencies that we have. And then, of course, we have some engineering for the whole system. And what is very important, some regulatory administration for all the regulatory offers that you have to overcome to get a medical device certified. So I will start with presenting CARLO, our product, and give a demo of our system. That's what we've set up here. I will show you the features and the benefits of it in a live demonstration. As I mentioned already in the quick teaser presentation, this is the laser head where the core technology is inside, the laser itself that is cutting the bone. Then we are having a whole trolley with a robotic arm that is not from us, that is just off the shelf. We make use of it, but it's not developed by us. And what is developed by us is the control software, which is in several computers inside this trolley. And this control software makes use of the information of this surgical navigation system, which is very similar to all the surgical navigation systems that you probably know. So also this is not developed by us, but we take it off the shelf. So again, our core competency is the laser and the workflow. And what I've set up here already is a simulation of a surgery. So we start actually in the maxillofacial area with our device. That is also our historic heritage. We have two founders, which are maxillofacial surgeons themselves, together with a laser physicist and a professor of biomechanical engineering. They started this company 4 years ago, and especially because of our heritage of maxillofacial surgery, we are starting with our first indication right there. So I have planned some cut paths for the mandible in that case, which shall simulate a tumor reconstruction case where we can cut out a piece of bone and then replace it either with an autograft or with a xenograft with some implant. And that's where we see a big benefit with our device already today. And then I can also motivate later what our future indications will be, because our technology is universal. So we can replace any osteotomy tool in the future, no matter in which part of the body you apply it. So from head to toe, our laser can cut all the bones. And that's also our vision of the company, where we will go. We want to become a tool, or have a tool that can be used throughout the body in multiple indications with one device. So that also when you have such a device in your hospital, that you can use it Monday and Tuesday, maybe in neurosurgery, Wednesday in spine surgery, Thursday in general orthopedics, and Friday in maxillofacial surgery, just as an idea. And then we have dedicated workflows for each of those indications that will guide you. That is one of our key philosophies, that we want to guide the user step by step to make this complex technology manageable. And we have all those when we have all those indications ready, we will have one device as a platform. Think of it a bit like an iPhone. That's an analogy that we always like to use. We have one hardware platform, and we have a lot of software applications for different indications that we can use, or that you can employ in the hospital. So, as I said, I prepared one case here in the mandible. Before we can cut this mandible, what we would have to do is we would have to visualize the path. So the surgeon will be sterile, of course, at his operating table with the patient prepared. You would prepare the soft tissue in the way that you can access the cut. And then it is operated by an or at the moment it is operated by an operator. In future, we will have the surgeon being able to operate it himself with a handheld that he can use as a remote control. This is just another usability step that you need to make. At the moment, it is done by an operator behind the machine, and he would activate now this visualization of the path. So the laser head will show me where it will cut. And as a surgeon, I can check whether this cut is executable, if I prepared all the soft tissue at the right location, if I don't have collisions with instruments and the like. And if I'm happy with this visualization, say, yes, the surgery can be executed just like that. Then we would start or switch into cutting mode. And I can actually execute the cut. So I have to do that, or I want to do that together also with a visualization of the cut itself. Oh, my colleague has already switched the video. Very nice, thank you. So we have a second video camera here that will display in detail and zoom into the cut when we cut. So I will start cutting with a handheld. I don't know if you've seen it before, and you will clearly hear it. You will hear that it will start cutting by a beep of the system, but then clearly you will hear the tiny micro explosions that I've been talking about that will create the cut line. And so I haven't cut it all the way through, and I've just made a first line, and then I can do a second cut, and with this second cut, I can show you actually what will happen when disturbances will occur. So, Sebastian, if you can maybe zoom out again, or show me the total of the setup. Thank you. Then I will start this cut all over from the sketch, because this was just now a first line that I did to create a line as a reference line. You will see later that it will all be one line, and even when I repeat it over and over again and cut into the depth. But now I will disturb the system and show you also the safety features that we have built inside. So I can start from the first segment again. So now we are back in the first segment, and I can start cutting again. And now you will see one, as I said or showed it already in the video, what can happen is that you have a movement of the patient. And the laser will immediately stop to cut where it has been cutting, and it will follow. So for example, if I now dislocate the jaw like this, it will follow, and it will cut even in my hand. And I can continue cutting, okay? So I will show it again. I will dislocate the mandible, and the laser will immediately correct for this movement and continue where it left off. And Sebastian, if you could switch maybe to the other monitor where we can see the user interface live, you will see our user interface. And on this user interface, you have on the one side the virtual model of the patient that we want to cut in the virtual space. So you see what kind of puzzle shape I was planning to cut. Then you have a live camera. If I put my finger now under this live camera, you will see that something happens there. So this is the live view of this surgery field. And at the bottom, you will have a visualization of the depth, because this is essential for cutting. We must not cut through at the end when we are shooting towards critical structure. And we have a depth measurement built inside our device. And with this depth measurement, we can analyze how deep we have cut. And we can then stop autonomously when we have reached the target depth. If it is at the moment not yet in a state where we have sufficient data to prove it safe, for example, for neurosurgery or spine surgery. This is something that we're currently working on. That's why we start, for example, also in the maxillofacial range, where we do not have vital critical structures directly behind the bone to be cut. So we can protect the underlying tissue at the moment with an instrument to make sure that if this depth measurement is not 100% reliable for now, we can still have a safe surgery, but we can use this technology now in the maxillofacial range to collect all the data. There is a data evaluation going on behind the scenes and train it so that afterwards we have a really reliable detection method with which we can then go into more critical applications. I would cut another time because there's another safety feature that I would like to demonstrate. So our robot arm is, for example, also tactile. So as soon as I touch it, it will automatically stop. So I've been keeping the trigger button pushed, but the robot arm will detect any movement or any collision immediately and also stop the process, and will even give me an error message on the screen telling me, hey, there's been a collision. Please check what's been going on and correct whatever collision there was, and if we can continue. If the surgeon or the operator confirms that, we can exactly continue to cut where we left off, which I will do. And that's the ultimate safety that I can even have, because our laser beam is strongly focused. It deposits the energy really only in the focal point. And if I put my hand right into the beam, then it doesn't hurt, it doesn't bleed. I don't know if you can show that to you in this camera here, but I can show you that my hand is perfectly intact. If it's focusing, yes, it does focus. Perfect. The only thing that there was is a slight deposition of the energy right here, which I can rub away. So if I don't put my hand right at the surface of the bone, where it will cut, of course, the rest of the beam is so little focused that the energy actually is not sufficient to damage tissue, and it is very safe to operate in this way. And now I can zoom into the cut again after all those complications that we have. I mean, this is really a worst case scenario. Like I had a collision here, I had myself being in the beam, I've been moving the patient all the time. And if you could swap to the video with the zoomed in view. Then you can see that this cut line is very neat. It is a clean cut line, no disturbances, despite me interrupting the system quite severely, which would usually not happen in that case, even in a real surgery. So those are safety benefits that we have intrinsically built inside our system. And with that, we believe that we can not only have the benefits, but also a device that the surgeon can trust, although he might initially have some concerns about laser technology and laser cutting bone. So this much for our short live demonstration. What I also have prepared here is a bit on the benefits. So I've been talking about it in the short presentation before, and here I have exactly the same model that we've been cutting in Houston 2 months ago. So here you see, for example, again, a bit more in detail, this puzzle-shaped cut, which has been cut in 2 ways. So I've been doing the cut on the simulated bone outside the area of the tumor. That would be like this. So I would cut the mandible, or I would cut out the tumor from the mandible, and then I can prepare an implant. I can prepare it either from autograft material, so I can prepare it from the fibula or iliac crest or wherever I want to harvest an implant from, or I can pre-plan such an implant and take an implant from metal or other material. And then in the surgery, I can create a cut such that if it is in fibular reconstruction, for example, that the fibular part exactly compensates for the cut width of the laser, and afterwards those two pieces fit perfectly together. And then I have an implant which really is passively stable and can take loads, which is not possible today, where the metal plating, of course, has to take all the loads. And for the future, we have also other ideas that we can do. For example, in spine here, we've been doing a cut. Hope you can see that. Focuses. Yes. A laminectomy with such a functional cut, for example, to have a predefined gap and a predefined geometry. We have plenty of ideas. We were talking with the surgeons now constantly about all kinds of indications. And we have very, very broad feedback of where this technology might actually be useful. So we have a list of benefits, as I said, for different indications. And for example, one of the different the benefits that we have is our precision. And we think, for example, in SEEG surgeries like stereoelectroencephalography, where you implant electrodes into the brain and you must position them very accurately to get the currents out of the brain for diagnosis of epilepsy. You want to have a very precise system. This is done robotic assisted today already, but with our system, we can do exactly trajectories with new or more extreme angles than have been possible before, because our instrument doesn't skive or bend. So we can get more precise trajectories in more extreme angles, so we can extend the range of possible electrode locations in the brain. And at the same time, we think that since we are contact-free and we rely solely on the registration of the navigation system, we wouldn't even have to put a patient's head in a head clamp, but it could lie on a pillow, and we rely fully on the navigation there while drilling the holes. And this could eventually even have a time-saving aspect. So we think that, for example, with such an application, we can have a multitude of benefits in one application that we could demonstrate. Then what I said already is the cervical spine, where we can, by cutting force-free and contact-free, we can be more precise in any osteotomies, for example, for screw placements or other osteotomies on the cervical spine, where we can get the precision and we do not endanger the patient because we keep the precision even during the osteotomy. Then, for example, another advantage is our healing, that we have a better healing with the open and porous structure that the bone has directly after the osteotomy. So, for example, in cases of osteonecrosis, or in cases of diabetic patients, or in cases of pseudoarthrosis, we might have benefits due to our better healing. And another indication that we see as very interesting is surface ablation of cartilage in the knee. So this is something where we can do arbitrary shapes. We can take away a superficial layer of the cartilage and repair focal lesions in the knee directly with our laser. And locally, we wouldn't have to do, for certain cases, maybe a total knee replacement, but instead we can just repair a local defect. So just to give you an idea of things that are possible. And we are actually looking also for collaborators in the US to establish preclinical and clinical research, because as I said, one of our next steps will be to also get FDA clearance of our device. And for that, of course, it would be very beneficial if we have a number of collaborators in the US with whom we can already discuss first ideas to bring the product to the market. I think if there are no further questions from the audience, and I don't see any questions popping up in this hop-in, I hope I'm not overlooking any questions. But if that's not the case, then I would close the session and thank everyone for the attention that you've been paying, for attending this meeting or this symposium, and wish you all a great day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.